Well, good morning. It's been a few days. I've been painting, and the painting has gotten some depth. So what we're working with here to create this somewhat semi-abstract painting was actually a couple of macro photography artistic pieces from Dana Smith Northey. And so this piece on the bottom, this big blue area that looks like a plant life, is taken from a succulent. So I have a picture of that succulent here, and I'll put that picture in the description below. But what I wanted you to notice is that it looks like there's a frostiness. I don't know if you've gone out and looked at succulents, but they have like this, it's a coating that you can't seem to touch, but it's like they have this glowing frostiness on the top of them, and sometimes another color will peek through. And in this one, it's got a raspberry kind of a color that comes through. It's almost like where it gets bruised or touched or it's growing that it will get this raspberry color. And then there's a frostiness on the bulging parts and the parts up high. So that's the part that I'm working on right now. So that, if you recall, most of the colors were just like this very, very regular, fairly regular. I mean, I did point out that I had some purple tossed into that turquoise color. So I'm always layering colors and working up the gradient, but at this point I'm going into the next layer, and so this layer has aspects about it that are see-through. Like if you see that succulent, it has, I don't know if you can see, it looks like you can almost see through it. And so like when you see through water, when you see through windows, there's a distortion that happens to your vision. So anyway, there is a tool to paint that way. And what I've got, it's my dirty, messy bottle, but it's a liquid matte medium. So the medium is something that will carry the color without having too much color, and you can actually see through to the layers underneath. It makes a translucent kind of a way. It's a medium, a matte medium. You can get a gloss medium, but then you'll have parts of your picture that'll be kind of shiny, so you'll end up having to put a gloss medium on the whole thing. So you're safer off, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but you're better off using a matte medium. Now a friend of mine also gave me this, which I had been looking for a product that would go with acrylic paints that wasn't, I mean, it's a little pricey. I think it's like $12 or $15 for this little bottle. This here is called Flood Floetrol. Anyway, it's the same as this, but it's thinner. Like you probably want to start with this because it'll be a little bit thicker. The matte medium will be thicker. This would be more for making flow paint, but you could totally use it as the gel medium, and I'll show you that in a bit. If you notice, I've got my bug completed, not completed, but fairly well along the way, and this bug has wings that you can see through. So I did that already with the matte medium. And I've got a palette here set up, and I thought I would talk a little bit more about the color, let you know exactly what colors I've got here. So I've got this lifted off, and you see there's this paper here. These are wet. So it's so dry and warm here in the desert, so we're starting off early again. But that I've put the wet towel underneath my little covers to have even more moisture in there. So I'm working with a very limited palette, and these are the only colors that are in here. I've got phthalo blue, cobalt blue, Hansa yellow, titanium white, cadmium red, magenta, dioxazine purple, and ivory black. You could also use Payne's gray. This is the palette that I'm starting off with, and it's the palette that I'm keeping throughout the whole painting. I'm not going to add in any other yellows. If I need to make this orange, I make it with colors that are here. If I need this brown, I make it with colors that are here. It's a good idea to paint that way because you keep your colors relative to each other, and it creates more cohesiveness in your painting. So we are still in our coronavirus stay-at-home mode, and one thing that I have found is that cobalt blue paint is not readily available. So my cobalt blue paint is now quite precious. Anyway, so we're using, as you recall, cobalt blue and phthalo blue. I will have a link in the description, or in the comments, probably in the description if I do it right. A little new at this, but to a list of colors that you might want to get if you were wanting to start painting and you've been listening to me and you think maybe I would like to paint. Now let me show you I want to show you briefly how this whole thing works with the being able to see through the colors. Alright, so let's see. If I start an area, I'm just going to get behind the camera for just a second to see where I can paint so that you can see it. And it looks like I can paint. Right here. And you'll see it. So if you notice, this color right here is really just kind of one color. Not a lot of colors in there. So I've got my gel medium. I've got an empty spot on my palette right about here. I'm going to put a lot of this stuff out. See? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let me switch to this brush. I like filberts. Is this a filbert? Anyway, I like this very clean brush with an edge that goes like that because I can paint a nice sharp edge. See how it follows the edge nicely? Stays together. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to keep lifting this for you, is I'm going to pick up just a little bit of the white, the blue. These are the colors that are already in there down here. So I want to carry a little bit of that color in. And here's I've got a little bit of white. It's really dry. So just kind of picking up colors. Don't get all busy over it. So then I've got some paint on my brush, but not a lot, if you notice. And I'm going to put a lot of this in because I want more of this than I want of that color that's on top. And then I am just going to bring this here and create an edge. I don't scrape my paint. I really love those Asian paintings, the Chinese paintings, the Japanese paintings, Asian paintings, where it's all about the brush stroke. I realize I don't necessarily paint like that, but I certainly am influenced by that. So I just took some of the paint off of my brush, and I'm mostly working with the gel medium right now. So it looks like it's white. You have to have some trust. And like I've said before, it's acrylic paint, so if you make a mistake, you can paint over it. Right. So you also might notice that I'm going right over these lines. I'm not worrying too much about if I'm covering something that's already there. one of the things that'll happen, I mean, you can try to paint beside stuff, certainly plenty of times, but see, once again, I've got mostly gel here, and I'm going to carry it. I'm just kind of trying to pull the color that's already on there, and I'm trying to pull it away so that it fades away. You won't be able to really see this until it dries, but that's totally what I did up here, is what's going on down here. So anyway, I was talking about, you know, a little bit how I'm painting over this section down here. I do it up here too. I did it up here with a little bit of a different color. So it's really just going to give me more depth. I can go in here and use my two reds is how I created that. I used the magenta and the cadmium with a tiny bit of dioxazine purple. But right now I'm just going to use the two reds. And then you can go back in and go over. And it gives you a greater depth. It's almost like when you look at something in life, it's built up of so many elements that adding color elements on top of one another really just enriches your paintings. See, so I brought that back up a little bit, and now as you can see, this is beginning to dry, so you can see that you can kind of see through the different colors. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer. You know what? Give me one more second. I think that what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to do the same thing that I did with a light color. I'm going to do it with a dark color in here. So I think I'm going to add a little bit of the purple. So I'm going to create that purple with the magenta. All my colors are relative, so they're all right close to each other. It doesn't matter if one color gets in another, because they're the only colors in the painting. And you'll get a much richer painting. So I'm just taking little bits of color. I'm going to pull a little tiny bit of black in that one, even though what I'm going to do is going to be transparent. And I'm going to paint that right here. So this way, there's a little bit of that glow of purple. Oop, I got a pile of red on there, which is okay because it's just paint. I don't know if you can see what's happening there, but I think I'm going to pick up the camera in a second here and give you guys a vision of what's really happening close on this canvas. See, and so now we've got some depth building here. I'm going to spread it on the edges with a bit more medium, which will dry. We've done it right with just a little bit of paint, a little bit of pigment. The medium won't show anymore. So, alright, so I'm going to stick that in my water. I'm going to spray to keep it moist. I'm going to throw my tissue, my wet tissue in there. And the wet tissue, cover that up so that I can continue painting, but I do want to show you a little bit in here. So I'm going to get behind the camera and we're going to come over here and I will show you what I've been painting. There's the bug. It's very transparent. Here I'll show you what we just did. We layered in the medium. It's got some purple colors in there. Up at the top here, You can see how you can see through. And it's starting to look like, you know, that bruised color. It's very sunny today. So you just keep painting. You've got your first layer. Now we're working on our second layer, which is going to be mostly done with mediums. Oh, if you look at this area right here, we've got some yellow put into the paint there. So when you have shadows, they will often have other colors in them. They're not just about the one color. Really look at your colors in life and see what's surrounding you. It's really a fun thing to do. Anyway, have a groovy day. I'm behind the camera, but I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.